Everyone, and welcome. This is a tutorial for basically syncing audio in a bulletproof sort of way using Davinci Resolve. So there's some complexity to this, but basically to set up the stage here, I have a movie that I'm editing and I've been working on. However, we ran out of tentacle syncs and we were shooting 3 cameras one day because it was skateboarding and lots of cameras all over the place recording different people skating and different scenes from the movie. And Davinci Resolve is not syncing it just based on the audio because the camera in some cases I think may be too far away from where the boom or the microphones of the actors were, so it didn't quite get the right amount. For example, here's a shot here in this scene. And you can see these kids are hanging out and they're waiting and they're sitting on something, and it's a pretty low angle. They're at ground level. The camera in this shot is way down low in the bottom of a bowl at a skate park. And I'll show you, for example, a bit of that. Okay, so here you can see, here they are up there. This thing is... Here, let me turn down the volume here. Sorry, this is not, I don't do a lot of these, so sorry if I'm not moving fast enough for you, but it'll be worth the wait. So here we are. This is the scene previous. We clapped it, and this girl's a great skater. You can see there is our second camera, our B camera, catching the kids while she's skating, and and this bowl is, taller than her. And from the wide angle lens, you can't even quite tell. This is probably 8 to 10 feet up in the air, right? You look at this person, they're about 5 feet something tall. And look at that distance from there to there. That's 1, 2 to 3 times her height, maybe, before you get to the bottom of the bowl. So it's probably at least 10 feet. And so anyway, the camera's far away. It's a wide angle. So that's why it's not syncing. When I try to take this shot, this is the scene we're trying to do, 64 alpha, take 1. You can see it kind of right there. If I hit this and then scroll down to that audio file, it's all in the same folder for easy syncing. 64 alpha, take 1. Select both of them, right? They're both selected. You can see they're both highlighted. There you go. There it is there. Here's the audio. Right click, audio sync based on waveform, because they're both recorded audio. It's saying that these don't match, right? But I know they do because you can listen to it and tell. So I'm going to show you how to make this sync with both camera angles. It's a bit of a complex workaround because unfortunately we did not have all of these cameras and the audio recorder sync together on this particular day of filming because we had too many cameras and not enough time to make sure all the tentacle syncs were in sync and that sort of stuff. So that's what we're doing, and I'm going to show you how. Well, the first thing what we need to do is decide which camera is our A camera, and I'm going to go ahead and go with this one right here, okay, because this was the A camera that we used. You can see it's labeled A32, roll 32 of the film. And what you want to do is go ahead and highlight that, and that's the only thing you really need to highlight. It's already in the viewer. By the way, we're in the media page here, not in the edit or the cut page of Davinci Resolve. You can see there at the bottom. And we'll select that 64 alpha, take 1. You can see that in there. And now what we want to do is find, which I already have, the point at which the clapper clicks, right? So I'll click in this window here to activate it, and if I go JKL, it's rolling back and forth. All right, so we want that point where the slate clap happens. All right, it's moving, dropping, bam, it's sitting still, it's clapped together. This is the time code of that on this camera. So we want to match this time code with the clap on all the other files, including the audio file that was recorded separately and the B camera as well. I'm going to show you how to do all that, and the calculations are important. So we found this point, leave it there. Now let's go to the audio file where that is recorded, 64 alpha, take 1. right there. Okay, so we click on it. There's 6 channels of audio because of all these microphones plus the boom, which is the operators off to the side there hiding, and the boom somewhere tucked in with these kids. Right, so here's this audio file. Now it appears in the waveform here in the audio panel. We can see them. So if we activate that panel, if that's the only one selected, we can click in there and we can scrub through and play and hear, you know, this audio. There's a little bit of interference here and there, that sort of thing. But we need to find where this starts. So fortunately, to do this, you need to start, when this recording starts, the time code should be 0. And you can see here it is, which is great, right? Now, if you for some reason don't have that starting at 0, which you need for this process to work, you can right click on there, go to clip attributes, and under the attributes of this audio clip, go to time code, and you can just type this in and change it, right? And I'll show you, let's say it started at 04. It's midnight. It's 4 frames after midnight. And that was the time code on this. You click OK. Now, if you look at that file right there, the start time code is 4 frames, right? And that's not what we want. So I'll go ahead and change it back. We'll say the start time code is 0. So that way you can, just so you know how to change it, because you need to do that to make this work. And now once it's all set up, it starts at 0. We want to scrub through and find the clap point, which I hear people saying they're speeding, so let's just play it here. There it is. You can hear her, not probably on this microphone because it's cardioid, but this is where she says 64 alpha, take 1, mark. So there's the clap. You can see it in the waveform up here. So I'll just arrow over to right on top of the clap when it first hits. All right, and I'm going to sync that up with this point. This says 7:18 is the time code in this audio at this point. So 7 seconds and 18 frames in from when he hit record on the audio recorder is when she clapped, right? So now we want to calculate how far that is from this point in the video, this time code in the video where she claps. We need to know how to make those two match. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to go to my trusty spreadsheet that I've created. Now this spreadsheet here, as I've already populated it, right? Here's 64 alpha, take 1. In the spreadsheet, we have a column for minutes, seconds, frames, and then the total frames from the start. So that is 7 seconds and 18 frames equals 186 frames if I'm going at 23.976, which is what this is recorded at with the camera, and that's what our movie was shot at, other than the off-speed stuff. So, and this is just a drop-down menu, right? So I can change that. If I said we were shooting at 30 frames per second, like say it was a TV frame rate, if I change that to 30, all of a sudden this changes to 228, because if it's 30 frames per second that's being recorded by the video, 7 seconds and 18 frames from 0 is 228 frames of media before the click happens on the clapper. So let's match that back up again. Hopefully that made sense. So now you understand you can make one of these spreadsheets yourself. It's a pretty simple calculation. A column for however many minutes, a column for seconds, and a column for frames. This is time code. This is your frames. These are your seconds. Here's your minutes. And you shouldn't have a clap that starts here hours after, if you're sitting and waiting for an hour after they hit record before they clap the slate, then there's something terribly wrong. But you could have, a minute or two delay depending on a plane flying over, or for whatever reason you might be holding on that clap and letting it roll before you clap. So now we know also it's a negative. We need to change this to a negative. So after this calculates it, and basically here's how this calculation works. I'll just click on it so you know. I take the time code for minutes, which is here. I multiply that by 60 frames. And then I multiply that by the frame rate, which is this. Okay, so that would mean if it was a minute in, that's 60 seconds of time, right? So you multiply whatever this number is. If I said 1 minute, it'd be 1 times 60, which would be 60 seconds. And then multiply that by whatever your frame rate is, in this case 23,976, and then you add, how did I do that? I multiplied that and then I added this, right? So that's how many minutes or frames it is for the number of minutes. And then I take the same sort of calculation for the seconds, right? 7 seconds is 7 seconds, and I multiply that by the frame rate, which is 23.976 frames per second being recorded. So I just simply multiply that one by this, and then that gives you, let me see if I can scroll in this window here. Yeah. Okay, so that's how you multiply those two together, and you get how many frames it is for seconds. And then you add just whatever this number is, because 18 frames is 18 frames. It's not a full complete second before you get to that point, right? So you don't have to multiply those two. And then you add all of those together, and that will give you this calculation, right? So it's taking this times 60, minutes times 60, times the frame rate, plus seconds times the frames per second, plus the number of frames. And it's tabulating it right here. And then over here, this offset source, this is simply taking that number, whatever that is, and making it a negative. Just for the sake of like getting it all right. So now that's our key number, negative 186 frames. Okay, so now we go back to Davinci. We know that the clap on this audio happens 186 frames into the audio. So now when we right click on this audio, right click, go to clip attributes. Remember, we counted that by starting it at 0. What we want to do now, before I do that, I need to cancel. Because first thing you need to do is take this frame rate, or not frame rate, but take this time code when the clap happens in the video. Remember, boom, there it is. And you'll see the frames moving as you go, one frame, one arrow at a time. It's one frame at a time. Bam, right there. Take that time code and copy it. You can right click on there. I haven't even tried the Command C because that seems like it's an iffy thing to try and click in there and highlight it and hit Command C. If you're already gonna have to use your mouse anyway for this, so because there's not very many keyboard shortcuts for navigating in the media page. So you right click, copy that time code. Now go to your audio, clip attributes, highlight it in here. Once you click in there, you want to paste. Now you can Command V so you don't mess it up. Don't type it in there. That's too hard to get right. There's our pasted time code. And what we go here is the secret. This offset source frames is that number right there on our spreadsheet. Go negative 186. It has to be a negative number. 186. Hit OK. Now, when you do that, let's go back to this. If you'll notice up here, now this embedded audio, when I click into this 64 alpha take 1, now that point of the video where the clap happens, and this is a way to check, bam, boom, right there, this number matches this number exactly. Isn't that cool? So that is the magic there. That's what we've done. We've matched the time codes for this audio with this video precisely to the frame. So we can just click on both of them now. There's the audio file, C049. Wait. Oh no, this is the A alpha. Okay, so we need to go up to the A camera. And I did label these, so there you go. All right, so Command and click so you can highlight both of them. And now they're both highlighted. Right click, auto sync audio based on time code. I don't do this append tracks thing. That basically adds the audio tracks to the sound of the camera, which you can always like pull the sound from the camera back, but you never really use the sound from the camera unless you have like some microphone plugged straight into the camera. If you had like your boom mic plugged straight into your camera, then you might want to append the tracks so that you get the audio that was recorded and you get the audio that's in the camera. But in this case, that camera audio is useless really. So I'm just going to do based on time code so that it completely connects those two together. So now if I'm in this file and I hit play, all of a sudden the video and the audio match together. And you can hear, right? All of a sudden his voice is loud and clear, and you couldn't hear anything that he was saying before. The camera was too far away. So now I got all their microphones and everything, and I've got the boom mic that was recorded here on one of these tracks as well, probably that one. So it's all said and done. Great. Now we want the second camera to match as well. That's even easier. So if we go, now that those two are in sync, let's scroll down to our B camera that you saw in this shot. There it is, 64 alpha, take 1. That was the girl who was standing underneath the floppies and everything, operating that camera. So we can just simply, on this one, just hit play through. Okay, there's our clap point. We open, bam, there it is. This time code isn't the same as what we wanted, but in this case, all you have to do, right click on your B camera or C camera or whatever other camera you have that has time code in there. Under clip attributes, what you want to do, it's going to have its time code. Don't mess with the current frame because this actually does update. As you played through this video, you'll see this change. So that's why these two match. In audio files, for some reason in DaVinci, it always says the current frame when you go to clip attributes is whatever the time code of the very first frame of the beginning. That's why I had to change it to 0 so we could do a calculation to figure out how far in the clap is. In this case, you just need to change the slate. If I highlight the slate or click in there and Command V or paste, because that I've already got that on my clipboard on my computer, you paste and you see these two are different, but it's counting this slate. So you don't have to mess with the offset because it actually lets you set a separate time code for when the slate hits. And you don't have to mess with your original source time code. Hit OK. Now, if I go here to this file and go down to my audio that was recorded, 64 alpha, take 1. Okay, command and click both of them. There you go. There's 6 channels there. There's 2 channels, your right and left, that was just generically recorded in the camera. Right click on one of them when they're both highlighted. Auto sync based on time code. And now let's hear what we have. Boom, there it is. Loud and clear. Both of these are playing. So if and I'll do it separate. I'll click on that video file on its own, scrub through, and now you can see this is moving because I'm not that before it wasn't playing through because I didn't select. I had them both selected, but now if I just select the video and play through, you can see that sync is working just fine, and there's the clap point, and you can see it clap right there. And that's that. And now you could even take those two video files and turn them into a multicam clip or whatever you want to do. And you can just edit them together as you would if it was like 2 cameras that were totally synced from the get-go, from the jump. All right. So that's how we can simply and easily sync all cameras to audio, even if the time codes are off, by just simply using the time code from one camera as a source to match up with all of the other files. Hopefully this was helpful for you. You can go to your video or your edit or your cut page now, and you could just pull up your clips straight into your viewer right there, and you can just edit at will. And when you pull this down, we'll just show you just to make sure you can sort of get a sense of how that works. Set your in and out points. Let's say he says that line, she smokes everybody here, she's such an awesome skater. We can drag that into our timeline, and voila, look, there's all of our audio files. And it's still labeled Scene 64 Alpha right there. It retains the same label of the original camera file on top, but you can look at this right there and see that that's the scene. There you have it. Okay, good luck and happy editing.